Okay, there we are. Excellent, we're live. Mr. Cole, I am on time today. I almost joined 2 minutes early. It was like just to show him I could be early too, right? But how's everyone doing today? Let's see, we got some viewers. Let's see some activity in the chat. Everyone say hello. Make sure we got audio and video as usual. David, nice to see you, bud. Long time no see. We've been missing you on Fridays. Franco. 2 weeks in a row, Mr. Cole. Yep, there we go. Although, to be fair, I think last week, I was like 1 minute late, but close enough. Close enough. You know, my Brazilian wife it's rubbing off on me, you know, in terms of, slacking off and just taking it easy, taking my time. Excellent. Hey, Sean. Dr. Bob. Rion. Hope everyone's doing well today. We have some fun stuff to show off today. Let me raise my desk here. There we go. So as you probably know, especially I know some of you have already been on Hangouts. So, yeah, I've been working pretty hard on Pi version 2 for about 3 weeks now. Especially in the past week. It's been like 12 plus hour days, just getting it done, and I'm really happy with it. It's really come along. I am going on a small weekend trip starting tomorrow morning, so I wanted to get it all done. I wanted to get it shipped this week, but maybe if I didn't have my my getaway planned for tomorrow, going away for a long weekend, then I could have gotten it officially released. But just let everybody know, I do have it available for pre-release today. Okay, you can go to the site. You can already get the upgrade as we speak. Okay, I've actually shipped it. I didn't announce it or anything like that, but just for everybody here, I know you guys are going to want you to get your hands on it. So I haven't updated the product page with all the new features, and I haven't updated the demo and all that stuff. Okay. But if you buy it now, you get version 2, okay? The upgrade or the original purchase. So, yeah, just to let you know, you buy Pi right now, you will get version 2. It's already shipped. I know sometimes I pre-release stuff and then the downloads aren't available. It's available. It is shipped. 2.0 is out there. It is going to be what I show you today. Today minus one small thing, which I'll get to, I added something like 10 minutes ago. That will be in the next update, probably next week. Okay. It's time away. I'm going to be busy. It's a volleyball tournament. Just let everyone know I am going to a volleyball tournament with my daughter. So it will be a crazy weekend of hectic volleyball. Trying to bite my nails because it's probably going to be really close games. So yeah, really excited about that. I do enjoy that. I'll be taking a gazillion photos. I'm kind of like the team photographer. So I record every game, take all the photos and all that jazz. So anyway, all right, but we care about Pi right now. So, let's go ahead and share my screen. Now I know some people here might not even know what Pi is. Okay. So, let's dive into kind of just what Pi is. So, let's go here. Actually, let's go to the product page. That's fine. We'll look at this demo file. Okay. Oh, I changed everything to foundation. 1 second. I think, sorry, 1 second. Let's use this one. Okay. So I completely redid the demo. This actually took me like 3 solid days to redo this demo for Pi 2. I used the original demo file from Pi, and I completely revamped it for Pi 2, making sure everything worked. And it's all using, for the most part, the starter pack. There are some that have to use Foundation 6 form fields because there's more advanced fields than what the starter pack has. But I tried to get everything done with the starter pack as possible. Okay. So This demo has, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. It's the same demo that's on the Pi. Again, the demo on Weaverspace has some fancier fields like sliders and stuff, where some of these don't use that just because it's not in the starter pack. Okay, but same thing is I just use a number field instead. Okay, because the slider just produces a number. So there we go. So for all intents and purposes, Pi essentially watches form inputs and then allows you to do calculations or update data. I mean, essentially, it can do a lot. Okay. But here we have, if you put in a number of pixels, it'll tell you how much REM that is, right? So as I increase these, you'll see that it dynamically changes this and shows us how much REM. If you don't know what REM is, it's a, it's a unit of measurement on the web. And normally it's 1 rem to 16 pixels. So this is just a quick little calculator that lets us do that. Okay. Here is another one where we see where I have one input and I can have multiple outputs. Okay. Again, there's just more kind of calculations here. So I put in the radius of a circle. Here's the perimeter. Here's the area. So we can get some complex math and stuff like that, right? It can do some other stuff, kind of cool stuff, where it can actually, if you see here, it's not only updating, these update the actual content or like headers content on the web page based on numbers that we supply. Okay. But it can also affect styles on the page as well. So like for here's an example where I'm actually going ahead and based on this number input, I'm actually translating that into the size of the text. Okay, so there's a lot of things that we can do, some interesting things. And this is kind of a cool little part of the demo that, this actually doesn't use Pi much. It just basically uses some fancy JavaScript that in this demo project, if you want to steal it, that will then modify the input value, which then obviously because Pi is watching this input, it'll modify the style of this text. So kind of a cool little doohickey there. Let's go for, I mean, there's just some more complex, as you see here, we're taking into account multiple inputs. So here I'm taking this times this equals 66 meters squared. Okay. So you can take into account multiple inputs into formulas that you then do calculations on. Okay. Here is a very complex one where we're like calculating how many paint, cans of paint we need to paint a room, right? So here there's several different inputs that we can use, and based on all that, we get down to the number of paint cans required. Okay, so pretty interesting stuff. Here we'll notice that I'm translating, I'm typing into an input, and I'm updating the label as well as another input field. So you can actually update input fields as well. So it's just kind of a silly example, right? But here you can see how we can have an example of, picking a month, a number, and that translating it into text. Okay. Now this is a quite elaborate example, and this allows you to pick a year, a month, and a day, and then it calculates the day of the week that you were potentially born. Some people have criticized this this demo and said that my calculations were wrong because someone was born on a Wednesday and it says Tuesday. So apparently somewhere in there, my math is slightly off. But the premise of the demo is pretty slick. It just shows you how, and actually this is a quite complex demo, which we can actually look at that in a little bit. I'm not going to dive into all the intricacies of the equation, but yeah, just to kind of show you how you can do something, take multiple inputs, and based on that, kind of output something that could be useful, right? Here's an example where we're actually doing some color manipulation. So as I increase these colors, you'll see that I'm not only just displaying the actual color values here, but I'm actually styling the text all at the same time as well. So as I'm choosing a hue, a saturation, and lightness, here, let's make that a darker color. There we go. As I'm making the lightness smaller, it's changing the actual color of these, which is pretty cool. Okay. Then we can, here's an example of where we can get select boxes and check boxes. This is actually a really great demo that I think people can really understand. So let's say this is like something for like a conference ticket where you say, oh, I have 2 people. I want the standard package. And as you notice, the total, and I'm going to add a couple add-ons, and I want this add-on here. And as you see, here is the actual total for my checkout or my cart, right? Let's say, for my form. So pretty cool. You can kind of add and subtract these things, and you see the total update dynamically on the fly based on the calculations that I made. And if you look here, like if I do, I think the add-ons, if I remember correctly, these are per person, and this one is per event. So it doesn't matter if it is 1 people or 2 people. This, when I check this, it only gets applied once. But then these add-ons here, the value are multiplied by the number of people, right? So it's pretty interesting how that calculation works. Okay. Here we can also do some date and time math. Okay, so here I'm just saying the number of hours. It's saying here's my local time, and then it's calculating the dates and our time zones for particular people, right? And then here we can actually do actual date math. So I have 2 date inputs here, and let's say I change this to be 2026, and then I can say how many days is that, how many hours away is that, how many seconds away is that, right? So you can kind of do some date math as well with Pi, which is pretty cool. Yeah. I'm not going to keep going. Actually, here we'll jump down to this very last example. Okay, and this one's kind of cool where I have I'm checking these check boxes, and each one that I'm checking kind of displays down here, right? So there's a lot of workflows for forms where maybe you want to display information based on what they've checked, like create some sort of summary. And yeah, this is kind of an interesting tidbit. Okay, now everything you've seen right now, it was all possible inside Pi version 1. Okay, I wanted to give you kind of a premise on what Pi is, and to kind of we'll dive into a slight one of these examples here, just to kind of see how Pi works in edit mode. Okay, all of these are Pi 2, so if you're familiar with Pi 1, you'll probably see some of the differences. Okay, but essentially here what you do is you define Pi. And in here, what we're doing is we're updating HTML on the page. We're updating the action. There's 3 different actions you can do. You can update content on the page. So I'm going to update this particular header. Or you can update a form. So if you want to, as you saw some of those, you can actually populate form input fields. Or you can actually update CSS or the styles. Okay, so you can do as many of these as you like based on your formula. Okay, and your formula is typed into here. So this is a super simple example. Here I'm doing pixels divided by 16. Now, if you look here, here is my text input, and this has a form field name of pixels. So if I ever want to access the value of this inside of Pi, all I need to do is know that form field name and then use it inside of my Pi equation with this particular syntax. Now, if you're an original Pi version 1 user, you'll notice that this syntax has been updated a little bit. It is $sign and 1 curly brace around. Okay, this is a change from the previous version, and this was done in order to stop any potential conflicts in the future with things like total CMS and feeds that use something called twig. I'm not going to dive into that, but the syntaxes were very similar. And yeah, I didn't want to have any sort of conflicts between the 2 products. So I updated the Pi syntax. One thing that's nice about this syntax is its actual native JavaScript syntax. So that's quite nice. Okay. So in here, all I did is I said I want to update HTML. And if you notice here, it says, whatever I add the class of pi-rem. Now here in Pi, you give it a field name, just as any other form input field. You give it a name. And anything I add pi-rem to will get updated with the contents. And if you look at this header, I added the class pi-rem, and that's exactly why this header gets replaced with the actual value from Pi, which is pretty cool. Okay, so that's kind of a very simple version of Pi. As you see down here, we can get a little bit more complex where you can actually have Pi's reference each other. Right? So here I have a number, okay, which is just number 1. And here, this one multiplies it by 3. But then down here, I'm actually referencing this Pi. This Pi has a name of triple, and I can reference triple inside of a different Pi stack, right? So you can have Pis that are based on other equations that you've already built, right? So it's pretty cool. And as you see here, this particular example has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different examples of how we could use Pi and how they can talk to each other. So yeah, that gives us a nice little, oh, and here, down here, we'll just like here, we have something special called math.py. We can do all kinds of stuff. Now, I don't want to do a full-blown tutorial on how to implement all of these today. I know we want to get going and seeing what all the new features are, okay? Because there's some awesome new features here today as well. Okay. If you have any questions or you want some clarifications on any of this, please go ahead and let me know, and I'll make sure I touch base on some of that today if I can, if I see your question in time. Okay. Also, go ahead and feel free to ask on the community. Okay. Okay. So let's look at, actually, you know what? Let me go into my release notes really quick just to make sure I, let's see. Okay. So here's the official release note. Pi product page. It's probably there. Should have got put up there. Let's see. Oh, good. Oh, it didn't. What the heck happened to my release notes here? Darn it. Something happened. Got all garbly goop. I'll have to fix that. I have to look at my automation. Okay. Darn it. Oh well. So other things at Pi 2. So if you remember before, there used to be a process as text checkbox, and it was always very confusing for people to know when to check that and when not to check that. And so, yeah, I've eliminated that setting, and Pi just does what you would expect it to do. Okay. Yeah, it's much smarter now. It's much more clever in terms of predicting what you want, if you want to output a mathematical formula or if you want to output text. Okay. So yeah, it just works now. Okay. You don't need to have that checkbox anymore. That was actually quite a big change. There was a lot of smarts to go into that. Another thing is a lot of the dependencies. So Pi used jQuery. So it's been completely rewritten in native JavaScript. And yeah, it's nice. It's much faster now. It's more performant. And it actually, everything happens in real time, which is really, really cool. So before, if you made any changes, let's say I typed in some changes here, okay, you wouldn't see, you'll see as I'm typing in to this, the numbers are dynamically changing on the fly. Before you'd have to like either tab out or hit enter key or something like that, right? So now all the values are calculated on the fly, so that you don't need to worry about that. It just all happens immediately. So much more performant. Yeah, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. Okay. Let's see. We'll go into the new stacks in a little bit. Real-time processing, performance. Yep, we talked about the syntax. Okay. Let's dive into some of the new stuff. Okay. We'll go into the fancy one. I know that I think is going to cause the most wows. Okay. And this is the gauges. Okay. So there's a new stack called PyGauge, and allows us to create graphs and charts based on our form inputs. Okay, which is pretty cool. Here's a few examples of things that we can do. Right now, this is the only style. It's either a gauge or a circle. Okay, kind of a donut chart. And eventually, you know, this is my dip in the toes. I think eventually I will create an entire chart suite of stacks that will be external to Pi. Okay, but I thought this was a nice introduction for myself to kind of learn how to do charting, and then we'll get something more pro and better for pie charts and bar charts and all that stuff in the future. Okay, I think that'd be really awesome to have with Total CMS 3. But before we get off on a tangent there, let's start looking at this. So as you see here, as I change these inputs, okay, all of the charts change and update dynamically. Now, some of these charts allow you to only have one number. So like this particular one only references the top and that's it. Okay. But as you see, these other ones allow you to actually reference multiple data points. Okay. Now I'm referencing these values right here directly from the slider. However, you could reference Pi as well. So let's say you have a complex mathematical formula and you want to output that formula inside your chart. Totally do that. Okay. I just thought for this particular demo, it was just easier to show and understand how it just are directly manipulated through these sliders. Okay. Let's look at some of the unique features on a per chart basis here. Okay, let's start off with this one. So as you see here, it's mapped to this particular slider. And something that is quite interesting, okay, is notice how the color, again, we're focusing on this top left chart, how the color changes as the value changes. Okay, it goes from red to orange to yellow, eventually to green. Okay, so what this allows us to do is it allows us to define thresholds for our colors. So in the settings, you'll notice that I have multiple colors defined, and I can define thresholds for this. So once, from 0 to 30 here, let me get my little cursor bad boy here. Okay, you'll see here that we have a threshold of 30, 50, and 80. Okay, so once I passed 80, it went green. But once I dip below 80, you'll see now it goes yellow. Okay, and then once it dips below 50, okay, it goes orange. And once we dip below 30, it goes red. Right. So this is kind of a great way, as maybe a user is filling out your form in some way, and you're doing some sort of calculation to kind of give them a progress of how they're doing. Okay. By changing the color, like, hey, you're green, you're good to go, right? So we can define those thresholds here. Okay. As you notice here, you can actually hover over, and now I think the hover kind of works better. Let's move over to this next one. You'll see here in this particular next one on the top right, okay, we're defining two different data points, and they're directly mapped to the sliders. However, you can have them set to be multiple rows, let's say, for lack of a better term, okay? And if you notice, you hover over that, you can see this value is 88. You hover over this one, is value 47. You can also hover over these in the legend. And you can actually turn off values and turn on values, which is kind of interesting as well. Okay. So yeah, this is kind of interesting. I like how the gauges are kind of displayed with the lines, and then the numbers are out there. I think it's quite nice. Okay. And again, this allows us to map multiple data sets or multiple data points. Now you can actually add thresholds here as well. But here I just want to show you how you can actually have them just be static colors as well. Okay. Down here, we have a traditional kind of donut chart. Okay. And as you see this one, you can have multiple data points, however, and have them on the same row. Okay. But another thing happens here is that you'll notice that instead of the raw value, okay, it shows us a percentage. Okay, so you can actually say, hey, instead, this is a value of 70, which you can kind of see in the little tooltip as I hover over here, but it's 42.4% of the total, right? Which is quite interesting. So as you resize these, the percentage is dynamically calculated for each one. And again, you can hover over these items and see each individual one. You could turn on and off items with the legend as well. Okay. And then this is the multi example, but with two rings. Okay. And they are, as you see, individually mapped here as well. Okay. Pretty cool. I'm really happy about that. I think the charts turned out really well. I think they're fun to play with. I've sat here and played around with charts for hours already, right? Pretty cool stuff. We'll look at the settings really quick. So you can map, let's look at these here. You'll see that I have two sliders. Okay. I have number and number 2. Okay. The actual field name is called number 2. Okay. I was super clever when I did that. Okay. So in here, let's look at this one. You'll notice here we have input names, and you supply the actual name of the fields that you want to import data from. Okay. If you wanted to import a pie, let's say here, like this one, I created a pie here called addition that adds number 1 plus number 2. Let's go ahead and, this one adds, let's do addition here. Okay. So now we have addition, and if we apply there, you'll see now this is 50 and 10. It is now 60, right? So as I increase this, that goes up. Okay, so it's the addition of that. Okay, and I created that just by a normal pie stack. Okay, And I just created a new field with the name addition. And we have number 1 plus number 2. And that gives us what addition is so that we can access that data from our gauge. And if you want to, again, if you want to supply multiple, you just simply do a comma delimited list from that. Okay. Next, pretty simple settings here. We have full circle gauge. So if you want the full circle, the multi-gauge, which is, the multiple rows. And then if you want percentage labels, and then the height of the grid. So here you define the height that you want your graph to be. And then the width is automatically determined based on your height. You can supply up to 4 different colors. And then as we saw earlier, the thresholds that you can supply here as well. So you can actually have the colors, progress as the data set progresses. Then you can have min and max values, and then you can enforce the min max. Let me show you what that means. Okay. So in this particular example here, you'll notice, remember I changed this to be the addition of these 2 rows, and it has 0 to 100. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that go all the way to 100. And I'm going to make this now go up to 100. Now you notice here the value is 200, but my chart still stops at 100. Okay, let's go ahead and turn off the enforce min max, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so now I'm going to go all the way up to 100 on this one, and you'll notice here as I increase this, it actually increases the maximum. Okay, for us. All right. So it does increase the max, and as I go down, the maximum, the new maximum was dealt with, and then it doesn't go down once you kind of increase the max; it stays at that max. So yeah, that was an interesting feature to turn on and off, just in case you needed something like that. Okay. Then we have the ability to also do a title. Let's do ahead maybe on this one. We'll add a title to this. I don't know, we'll just do live, right? So you can do that, and you can do any units, let's say in PX, right? Something like that. So you kind of have a title. I say this is units, maybe I should call this subtitle. I don't know. So yeah, you have a main title. You don't want this to be something large, right? It's 1, maybe 2 words, right? So it's small. I guess it depends on the size of your graph. But there we go. I'm pretty excited about this. I think it's a super easy to use stack. Wasn't so easy to implement, but yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. So yeah, hope you guys like that as well. Okay. Bar charts coming too. Not in Pi. So not in Pi. Probably in a future charts stack coming to you. Okay. Next up. Okay, Pi show hide. So this is a stack. The use case here is a lot of times what we want to do is based on some form inputs, we want to show or hide other data. Okay, and so in this example here, in this example here, I have a text input that has a number field, and then basically I just have a bit of text here that if the number is greater than 10, let's show this text. Okay, so let's go ahead and show that, right? So I'm just going to increase this number until we hit number, greater than 10. And voila, we have our text is now displayed. Okay. So there we go. Pretty simple, right? The settings for this are just basically show and hide. And then your equation here, I actually have a cheat sheet here that kind of shows you the type of comparisons that we can do. We can do a comparison on text as well as numbers. And yeah, some really cool stuff here. And so as you see here, if I wanted it to be less than or equal to, I can do that, right? And if we go ahead and change that, now if it's less than or equal to 10, our contents is displayed. Now, you can show and hide whatever, right? This is just a drop zone. Here, let me just show you. When you add show hide here, it's just a drop zone. Okay, so yeah, you can add whatever you want. Here I just added a simple text field, but you can show and hide other form fields as well, right? So if you have a really complex form where certain form elements are kind of relied on other form elements. Let's look at this example here. So here I have display extra fields. Let's say yes. Okay. And then based on that, it showed me another field. Okay. And then I could say either yes or no. Okay. And then based on if I say yes there, it actually changes this text here, right? So you can actually build out some logic here. Okay. Let's look at the implementation here where I have, here I just have a simple select box called yes, no. Okay. And that says display extra fields. Okay. And the options are just yes or no. And then here I have a pi show hide that is set to be show. Okay. And it's going to show this other select box that's called love. Okay. That is also a yes, no. I wasn't feeling too creative last night when I created this. Okay. And then below that, it also has two other pi show hides inside. So they're inside of this parent one. So they're all hidden. Where if love equals yes, then I want to show this text. But on this one, if love equals yes, I want to hide this particular one, right? So here there's the difference of show versus hide. Okay. So when love equals yes, I want to hide this text. Else I could have just done if love equals no, then show this, right? But I wanted to have a demo of a show and a hide example. So yeah, my ultra creativity here, that's what it did last night. It was late. I was tired. Okay. I'll probably come up with a slightly more elaborate demo later on, but there we go. Just to kind of show you. And what's kind of cool is if I go back at this up to no, it hides everything that was there before, right? So it's all interlinked and it can undo stuff, kind of somewhat similar to how the stacks settings do in this when you enable and disable settings here. Although in this case, if I do yes here and then I go back up to the parent and say no, it hides where. If you're a Stacks dev, then you know that's not always true with Stacks API. But okay. Anyway, I digress. Okay. Let's see. Next one. So that was new stack number 2. Was pi show hide. Seems like a super simple stack, but yeah, I'm really happy with it. I think it's going to be really powerful, allow us to do some really flexible things, especially since these logics here can be quite elaborate, right? Here I have some very simple examples, but if you look at the cheat sheet, I have some more complex examples where you can do, multiple things. Like here I have numbers greater than 100 and number 2 is greater than 99, right? So you can kind of do comparisons of multiple inputs. You can actually do like, maybe is input 1 greater than input 2, something like that, right? So pretty cool. Okay. So you can do some quite elaborate, formulas here for showing and hiding data. Okay. The last new stack is something called pi autosave. And what's the use case here? So, the use case here is, let's say, I spend a lot of time, filling out a form. And let's fill this out. Okay. And I'm like, oh, okay. And something happens and I close my browser. Okay. And a lot of times you're like, oh no, do I have to retype all of that all over again? Well, let's go ahead and preview that. And no, if you look, all that data was restored. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, so what this stack allows us to do is it will, by default, it auto saves all form fields. Okay, so all text form fields will be auto saved so that, if a user types and then doesn't submit the form, now once a form is submitted, it will go ahead and clear all that data. So if the form gets loaded again, it's not going to repopulate the same data. Okay. So it's a one-time shot thing. But whether or not I click the back button and whenever I restore, and what's really cool is all this happens in real time. I'll even show you some of the magic behind the curtains here. So if we go to the application tab, here we go. Okay. So, if you'll notice, this is something called local storage in the browser. Okay, it's like a little database in the browser. And a lot of form save features are timed based, like it'll save it every X time. This is instant. So watch this name field as I type it, okay? You'll notice that all of this is happening instantaneously. And actually this field here, this pi, that's actually a pi field that's just doing some text manipulation, okay? And it all happens in real time, which means all of this data gets saved instantaneously. So you're always kind of guaranteed to have the latest and greatest data saved within your form, okay? And it just works. So again, I can close this browser window. Let's preview again, and it's all right there. As you see, Joe Workman, hello. Pretty cool, right? So sweet. That's autosave. And if you wanted, you can actually, if you don't want to autosave all fields, you can actually uncheck this and define multiple field names. Just do a comma delimited list of names of fields that you want to actually watch. Okay. There we go. The last update that I want to share, this is definitely advanced. Now, you probably know a few weeks ago, it's actually a live stream that kind of spurred this entire update, okay? I did a live stream on this UK postcodes thing, right? Well, this demo actually uses Foundation 6. 1 second here. Okay, there we go. Let's preview that. All right. If you're familiar with this, it actually goes ahead and if we type in a UK postcode, it goes out to an external API and gets the town, county, and region. Okay, and it autofills these fields. Pretty cool. Now, in order to accomplish this, though, we had to get down and dirty in some JavaScript. Okay, and I wanted to make that easier a little bit. Okay, so what I've done here, let me go ahead and let's copy this. We're gonna dive into a little bit of code here. We're gonna save that, and let's just go. Make this a little bit bigger. All right. This is the new JavaScript. Let's go ahead and let's see if I still have the old JavaScript in my. All right. Here is the old JavaScript that I used creating ChatGPT. Okay. And this worked 100%. But I thought it would be fun to kind of make it optimized. So I've created a few helper functions here that you can use in your JavaScript to make things easier. Okay. I have pi update input. And what this does is it will update the input. So here it'll take the input with the name town, and it'll actually update it with the data that we get. Okay. And then here I have pi.fetch.json, and you give it a URL, and this will actually go ahead and connect to an API, bring down the JSON, and then inject all that data into a variable for you to use. Okay. So yeah, we just have some really cool new helper functions here to make our JavaScript with Pi a little bit easier and more friendly. Daniel asked about the data for local storage. It's all saved in the browser. Nothing ever gets sent to the server. Okay. So yeah, that was the last kind of update that I did for Pi 2 with just some helper functions. I'm thinking over time I'll probably add maybe a little bit more helper functions here and there to make our lives easier. Okay. So yeah, there we go. So everybody, that was that's kind of an overview of Pi 2. I'm super excited about it. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. And yeah. Let me have it. Let's bring in the questions. It is available right now on Weaverspace, and yeah, it's currently $59.95, and the upgrade price is $39.95 if you were an owner of Pi version 1. Okay. All right. Sweet. Thank you, Dr. Bob. I appreciate that. Okay. I'm gonna have to run away for a second. If you guys have any questions, come. I'll be back in 30 seconds. And if you have any questions, I'll answer them. Else, we'll wrap things up. Okay. I'll be right back. Okay. Excellent, guys. I've used some complex financial calculations with. Oh, so yes, Franco. Thanks for. Pi does have several integrations. It's part of the default demo set, actually. Some of those ones I skipped. Okay, if we go scroll down to. Okay, let's look at this particular one. Okay, this one is actually interesting. Okay, oops, darn it. I'm gonna have to figure out these reason all themes reason. All right, if we scroll down here, this demo 13, it calculates loan payments, and this particular one, you give it your loan amount, your interest rate, and your terms, right? So 30 year, 15 year, and then what it does is it gives you your monthly payment. Okay, now some of that math can be quite complex. Okay, so what Pi does is it integrates with several external libraries that gives us some helper functions. Okay, so in this particular one, it's we're importing the finance functions. Okay, and you can use this. So finance.am, which is amortization of a loan. Okay, and you can just pass in the values from your inputs, and voila, it outputs your monthly payment. Right, so super simple. There is cheat sheets for all of these as well to kind of give you an example of things that it can do. Okay. So yeah, actually, when we did the date, there's one that has date math. Here, date difference. Okay, yeah, here. Here I'm using some date functions where we're calculating again the difference between dates and outputting it in hours or minutes or seconds, right? So and there's one for date. There's currency, finance, advanced math functions such as pi and a bunch of other stuff. Okay, and then date functions. Okay. Advanced math actually does some crazy stuff. If you're, you get logs and square roots and derivatives and all kinds of stuff. Probably most of us aren't going to do that, but yeah, if that's something you need, Pi's got your back. Okay, it has all the common advanced math built directly in, so that you don't need to know how to do that and code it yourself. Okay, so pretty cool. Oh shoot, I'm not sharing. I hate when I do that. Thank you, Franco. Man, someone fire this guy. Jesus. Okay. Darn it, I hate when I don't share. Here I am, you guys watching me talking to myself. Okay. Hate that. So here in Pi, as you see here, we have several different functions. Again, as I said, currency, finance, advanced math, and date functions. Okay. All of these have a cheat sheet. So if you click on the cheat sheet, you can go ahead and see, various examples of how you can do some date math in this case, right? Let's go back to the loan amortization one. That's actually a really good example, okay? Let's show you this example again, live. So we have your loan amount, your interest rate, and your amortization schedule, how many years the loan is going to be. And then that outputs the monthly payment, okay? And that's, again, super easy. All you have to do is add the finance functions in here, and you just simply use that finance function in there, and you pass it the loan amount, the interest rate, and the number of years, and it magically outputs the actual monthly payment that you would have. Super useful. Very, very useful. There's a lot of other great financial options in here as well, but the amortization one is pretty cool. There's also ROI and cash flow, okay? Which is actually the next example here, where we calculate the future value of something. So we have, the amount, the growth rate, and how many months we want to calculate that rate, okay? And it will output the cash flow. And normally those sort of calculations are quite complex, but it's really easy with Pi and these integrations with these external libraries, such as finance, okay? So sorry about the lack of screen share. It's not the first time that's happened. I'm sure it won't be the last, but thanks for pointing that out, Franco. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see. Dr. Bob says, I used to create a calculation on what to charge people paying with Square. So I get to know what I want deposited based on the manual entry or swiping the card. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I guess he's built a form for himself to kind of calculate what he needs to charge someone with Square, and then he types in that value into the Square and swipes their card or whatnot, right? So cool. Yeah, very, very cool. I like that. All right. Yeah, Pi's are a very powerful stack. Oh, remind me later. I think we've gone over all of it so far today. I've seen some really amazing things built with Pi. It's pretty cool. That demo, the demo that's actually on the product page, I have to still give credit to Paul Russum. If anyone's been around for a while, Paul Russum, he didn't do web design very often anymore, but he was the mad scientist behind most of those demos, especially the birthday calculator one. Super cool, very elaborate. You can check out the demo file. All of those demos are in the demo file. So if you want to see how any of that is done, it's all there. And for most of those demos, I have to give the credit to Paul for that, because he was just the mad scientist helping me test Pi out in the early days. And he just went all out and created all of that stuff. So Paul, I still appreciate you, even though you're probably not watching this right now. But yeah, it's really good. Really, really great. So, okay, everybody, I think we're going to call it a day. I don't see any more questions. So thank you very much for being a member of the Weaverspace community. Hangout happens Friday. I might join from Denver. I don't know. Depends on what's going on. Okay. But yeah, I might peep my head in. Sometimes I tend to do that just to say hi to everybody. But Hangouts happen with or without me. So join in, meet up with your fellow Weavers, and get some help. They're there to help you as well. And go out there and build something great this week. I appreciate it. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We will see you back next week. And again, Pi is available right now on the website. You can either buy it new or the upgrade. I'll officially launch it next week once I get all the marketing done and all that fun stuff. Okay, so take care, everyone. We'll see you on the community. Bye.